Welcome to yet another knowledge clip from Global School for Entrepreneurship. This knowledge clip will be about effectuation in combination with the business model canvas. We use effectuation to make sure that the business models that are developed with our students in Global School are actually feasible. I'll get into the details in this video. We'll start off with a little bit of a recap about effectuation principles. There are 5, and these are actually the result from Saras Sarasvati, who researched expert entrepreneurs. These principles are bird in hand, which teach us that entrepreneurs start thinking from the available means, because if you don't have the means available, you can actually not put your concept on the market. We'll get to that in a minute. Then the second principle is the affordable loss principle. And that principle teaches us that expert entrepreneurs are actually experts in limiting risk. Because quite often you bring something to the market or you try something that is not working as you had expected. So if you have put on all your eggs in one basket, then you will risk everything, and then you have to go get a job because you cannot afford to start another startup. Now the third principle is the crazy quilt principle. Means collaboration with other parties, and the crazy in this sense is the unexpected collaborations that are created. Now during the process of value creation and putting things on the market, a lot can go wrong, and everything that does not work out as expected is a lemon, and it could be a sweet lemon, and then it's positive, it's an opportunity, an insight that you can use to seize. Or it's a sour lemon, and then you have to cut it open, understand it, study it, squeeze it, and then make lemonade out of it. So come up with a solution. The last principle is the pilot in the plane principle, and that's the principle that says something about you as an entrepreneur. You really have to want to create something. We teach entrepreneurship to create impact businesses that have a purpose, and therefore the pilot needs to really have an opinion and have a care and have the drive for execution. And then you turn from a passenger in someone else's plane into the pilot in your own plane. So these are the effectuation principles, and we're going to be connecting them to the business model canvas. The business model canvas has 9 building blocks, and these building blocks are all describing how the business model of the company works. And in the bottom, you can see the cost structure and the revenue stream, and that's all about the viability of a business. Then you also have the feasibility, and that is on the left-hand side of the canvas. That's everything you need to have in place to be able to offer the value proposition and get it to the customers. What you normally start off with is the desirability. It is creating something for a specific customer segment that they really want. Because if there is no value created, then there is no revenue. So desirability is something that you normally start off with. So you start normally with that first. This video is actually on the feasibility, and I want to show you how we actually build a business in Global School. We start with anthropology, which is all about understanding the market that you want to get into. Then value creation, which is understanding the needs, the wants, the job of the customer, the job to be done. Different video on that also in our knowledge clips. Once you figured out what your customer needs, only then can you really create something of value, which is called the value proposition. And that's done with the lean startup method, to really go out and test how you can really seize the opportunity that's coming from customer insight. Then there's business modeling around the product market fit, and then in the end also a pricing model, knowing what to charge for it. Today we're going to be looking at the business model canvas in connection with the effectuation principles. And the value proposition canvas is actually the center of the business model canvas, and it is about the customer segment. It is understanding who you're creating the value proposition for, and then the value proposition is a design of your solution, your offering to that specific customer. And that means that you have to understand the customer first, and then you develop your product, not the other way around. Otherwise, you have developed a product in need for a customer. And 90% of businesses fail in finding the right customer for if they do it that way around. What you want to do is first understand your customer, and that often is triggered by the impact that you want to achieve. Like I said, you start with value creation, then lean startup, right? So you have the product market fit design. So you have a customer segment that you've determined, and then you have the value proposition. Could be as simple as people that want to create coffee in their homes, the Nespresso example, and then an espresso cups and an espresso machine is actually the value proposition. If you then look at channels, channels are the ways you get your product to the customer. Could be your distribution channel, and that's not the logistics, but it is how you sell your product. Are you going to use a website or a web shop? Are you going to use retail stores? Are you going to do personal selling? Are you going to go door by door, door to door? Are you going to call, so have a call center operating, or start calling yourself first? Those are the channels. So this is how you sell your product. How are you going to get your value proposition, your product or service to your customers? And then on the top is the customer relationships. This is how you manage. What will you do? What will you put in place to be able to manage your customer relationships? Then that ends into revenue. And there's different revenue streams. For instance, with an espresso example, you could say the coffee cups, and then also the Nespresso machines, right? And maybe there's some other stuff also. They sometimes do also tea. So there's different revenue streams that you could describe for Nespresso in this example. Now, the other side of the model is all about, for instance, the key activities. Key activities are the activities that you need to put in place, that you need to do to be able to get that whole thing on the right to work, so that you are able to offer your value proposition. The channels, what do you need to do for that? Do you need to do marketing for it? Do you need to have a call center in place? How are you going to do the customer relationship? How are you going to find your customers? How are you going to build your funnel? That's all key activities. And those key activities can only be done if you have resources to do them. So that's why the key resources are there as well. Now, that is often a starting point that you are experiencing, like, oh shit, I'm missing the means here. I also need to find partners because I don't have all the means available to make my business model work. So that's why you look at the key partners. And there you go and quilt, which is the first example of how effectuation connects to the business model canvas. If you look at the cost structure, then everything on the left, that comes together in the cost structure. And there you might also need to have some costs for quilting partners, because they are doing part of your job. For instance, the logistic partner that does the delivery of your goods. Then you need to make sure that in your cost structure is also mentioned the cost that it takes to do that delivery. And maybe also, as a result, the returns handling. A lot of retail in fashion has a super tough time because people order a lot of pieces and then they send back the majority. So the cost structure is so super important. We said we're gonna see, well, can we build it? How can we prevent our value proposition to be an empty box? What do we need to put in place? So is our business model feasible? And that's why we look at Sarah Sarasvati's 5 principles of effectuation, and we connect that to the business model canvas at Global School. Like I said, bird in hand is all about starting from the available means. You have the affordable loss, which is about thinking in smaller steps and limiting risks so that you can move forward. You have the crazy quilt, which is the collaboration to really create a competitive advantage. You have the lemonade, which is during the process, which is about becoming smarter and learning from failure. And then you have the pilot in the plane, which is all about having an opinion and the drive to execute. Now let's tie these 5 principles to the business model canvas. If you look at the key resources, that's your bird in hand. If you don't control your key resources, we said, you need to find partners. That is building crazy quilts. And what you need to figure out is, with your cost structure, can you put your product on the market? Can you afford all the costs, the consequences of putting a product on the market? Can you afford that? Can you pay for that? If you have for instance, a t-shirt company, and you do the website, you can have the costs and you can have the investment for the website. Then you have Shopify, and then you have maybe Printful or some other companies that you tie into your web shop. And then with Printful, you have other people print the t-shirts and ship it, and you get a cut, right? But what happens if the t-shirts are being shipped back? In Europe, the e-commerce customer has the right to return their goods if they don't like it or if it doesn't fit. And if it is printed with elements that you could sell also to someone else, then they have the right to ship it back. That's also why it's often possible to put your initials in for almost nothing. That's because once you choose to do your initials in, then it is super tailored, and then they lose their right to send back and get their money back, because then it's a tailored product, and then they need to pay for it. They cannot ship it back. So with the affordable laws, also do a lot of risk assessment and understand what the rights of the customers are and to what extent that offers risks to you as an entrepreneur. So can you risk all the costs and potential costs that are coming with your business model? And this is how the effectuation principles connect to the business model canvas. It really helps if you look at the means that you have within the business model. Do I actually control them? Do I have those means available? So do I have the bird in hand needed to run the business model that I designed in the business model canvas? Do I need partners if I don't have the means available? If I don't control those means, can I create collaborations so that I can have the means under my control through these collaborations? And then also affordable loss. Can I carry the responsibility coming from the investments and also the whole servicing? We've now connected the effectuation principles to the business model canvas. In our next episode, we're going to also show you a video about the effectuators roadmap. The effectuators roadmap is a canvas that we use for the entrepreneurs to sketch their whole business in. You see the top part, which is the sun, which is all about where you want to go, what you want to achieve. And then you will see on the right hand side, you will have the lemonade, which is all these things that might happen, or your uncertainties or your doubts or your risky assumptions. And then on the left hand side, you will have the bird in hand, all the means that you have available. And then in the middle, you see a little a guy I drew, or a woman that's trying to get closer to the intended goal. That's what you plan in small incremental steps, and becoming bigger and bigger in time. I hope this was valuable. Check your business model canvas. Take out the means that you don't control. Can you then still run your business model? Can you still offer your value proposition through your channels to your customer segment? Or do you need to start quilting? Or do you need to make your value proposition a minimal viable product so that you make your initial offering smaller because you lack the means to do the total package in one blow? Those are decisions you make as an entrepreneur when you start applying the effectuation principles to the business model canvas. Thanks for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.